For decades, Mars has held a secret. A question has was into scientists' mind in the lab, and for nearly half of the century, is red planet electric? So we are talking about a large dramatic volt like Earth's lightning, and we are talking about something more, far more subtle yet more profound. And also we are talking about a Martian mystery of charged dust and swirling wind, and the planet has finally and accidentally revealed this electric nature. So going forward, let's find out this and this interesting instance. This is the story of Perseverance rover, an instrument not even designed for the task, and the 55 faint crackles it recorded that didn't just confirm the theory but fundamentally actually changed our understanding of the planet, and which is next door, and this is Mars. Mars is not just a dusty a planet. Mars is electrified. So why why have scientists been so sure about lightning on Mars? So it came down to the two key ingredients, dust and friction. So on Earth, we see electric field generated in thunder of clouds, and also in turbulent clouds of volcanic ash, and yes, even in the huge dust storm sweeping across the desert. So the process is called triboelectric, and this charging, and it is just a fancy term for static electricity. But when these tiny grains of sand and dust rub against each other, they strip away the electron, causing a massive build-up of charge. So idea was really simple, isn't it? Mars is covered in a dust and experience the massive dust devil, and planet is circling the dust storm. So therefore it was must have a electric activity. So that was the thinking that's this whole story starts. So in 1970, researchers even simulated the Martian atmosphere in lab, and they agitated dry sand in a low pressure carbon dioxide environment and observed a visible glow, a tiny spark. The theoretical model was sound, and but the Mars in 150 million miles away. So that's a kind of a very difficult task to really realize it and on a handy basis. And for decades, so every attempt to find this Martian lightning with the dedicated instruments on orbiters and landers actually failed. So it was a forgotten area of exploration, a major piece of Martian climate puzzle that remained missing. So enter the Perseverance rover, NASA's current flagship on the red planet, which landed in Jezero crater in 2021. Perseverance was sent to search for a sign of ancient life and collect the rock rock sample, and it was not primarily a weather satellite, but it carried an amazing piece of kit, the SuperCam instrument. The SuperCam uses laser to vaporize the tiny spot on the rock and analyzing the resulting plasma. So crucially, it has a microphone, and the first ever to successfully record the sound of Mars. So it was designed to listen the snap of laser and the subtle sound of the wind. So over 2 Martian years, the researcher team led the scientists from the Institute of Research in Astrophysics and Planetology in France, and analyzing 28 hours of SuperCam microphone data, and they weren't looking for the lightning but the study and of the wind and dust devils, and then they found them, yes, the 55 unusual event. So each event followed a distinct and compelling pattern. It began with a sharp electronic disturbance and electromagnetic pulse picking up by the microphone's circuitry. So it was followed by millisecond later by a faint acoustic pulse, a tiny shockwave. So this was a smoking gun, and this was the signature of electric discharge, mini lightning bolt happening right near the rover. So we need to emphasize, and this is not a spectacular bolt of lightning like we see in Kansas thunderstorm. This is a mini lightning, a static spark just a few millimeter to a few centimeter long, like a shock you get after walking across a carpet and touching a door knob on a dry day. So, but we what were these small zaps and why it is so important? The key is the Martian's atmosphere. It is extremely thin, less than 1% of Earth's pressure, and primarily composed of carbon dioxide. On Earth, air is a great insulator, meaning it takes a huge amount of charge, massive electric field, and so break down the air and create a spark. But on Mars, the low pressure means it takes less energy for a spark to form. The electric field does not need to be strong to overcome the atmospheric resistance. The constant friction of swirling dust devils and the front of dust storm is enough to build up an electric field that is quickly hit the atmospheric breakdown threshold and triggering these small persistent charges. So the discovery confirmed that the electric fields in Martian dust devils are powerful and reaching an estimated 25 kilowatts per meter, the exact level required for an atmospheric spark. So this is a movement of theoretical science, because say to observe the fact, and that is really very important. So how does this mini lightning solve a mystery? The answer lies in the dust itself, which controls the Martian climate like the water cycle controls the Earth's. For years, scientists have puzzled over the strange behavior of Martian dust. Dust transports definitely, and you know how it does on Earth's surface. But how does Mars manage to lift and sustain a huge amount of fine dust in its atmosphere for so long? So these electric charges or sparks can promote an aggregation of dust particles and causing them to actually clump together, or conservatively they can keep them apart via electric static repulsion. The electrical force fundamentally alter how the dust moves and settles. So atmospheric chemistry actually plays a role here, and this is perhaps the most profound impact. The electric discharge are an enormous source of energy. And when a spark rips through the atmosphere, it breaks the chemical bond. And on the Mars, this electrochemical process create a highly oxidizing compound molecule that are very reactive and destructive. So methane disappearance, this is a new finding which has been observed, and this new finding could solve one of the biggest atmospheric puzzles, and the surprisingly rapid disappearing of methane on Mars. So methane is an organic molecule that should last longer, but these new electrically driven oxidizing component could be destroying it quickly and upsetting the planet's photochemical balance. So this is mini lightning confirmed that Mars is not a chemically static world, but with an active electrically driven environment. So this discovery forces us to actually recalibrate our entire understanding of Martian atmospheric chemistry and climate models. Beyond the pure science, the detection of electric activities has a very real practical implication for future of human and robotic exploration. While the centimeter scale spark won't strike down an astronaut, the constant presence of these electrostatic discharges poses the three serious threats. So first is electronic interference. The electronic interference, that electromagnetic pulse from these frequent a small zap can cause a interference or even the damage to sensitive electronic equipment, particularly during the intense dust storm. So this explains why some early mission may have failed suddenly, and like the Soviet Mars have failed three lander which stopped transmitting just 2 minutes after landing during a dust storm. The second is dust adhesions. The electric charges caused dust to stick to everything: solar panel, camera lenses, radiators, and this phenomena known as dust adhesion, and that reduce the mission life and efficiency. So understanding the electric field in the first step towards the developing better dust imitation strategies. The third point is astronaut safety. Future human habitat and space suits will need protection. Long-term exposure to these static built-up and frequent discharges could pose a low-level frequency, low-level but persistent actually, and radiation hazards, or lead to unseen equipment malfunction for astronauts working on the surface. So this mini lightning is a clear warning, and we must design the next generation of Martian hardware and habitat to be ready for an electrified planet. So the accidental recording of tiny static crack by microphone on the Perseverance rover has finally solved a decade-old mystery. So Mars is now officially confirmed as one of the electrically active world in our solar system, so joining Earth, Jupiter and Saturn. So what was once a subtle theory based on lab experiment is now concrete in the evidence. This groundbreaking finding actually opens a completely new chapter in the Martian science, one focus on electric meteorology, atmospheric chemistry, and preparing the future explorer for a new kind of hazard. The red planet is always has been electrified, and thanks to the keen ears of little microphone, we finally know it now. So this is for today. Be there for the next one. Till then, you take care. See you. Bye bye.